I was sitting in the media room at BC Place Stadium in Vancouver. Is that better, Kevin, the medium? Watching the East Final, Montreal-Toronto, whoever the hell it was. Kevin played for every. And he broke his right arm in a pile. We all remember it. Broke his right arm. Rod Black might have been calling it. Let's bring him in. When I saw Kevin Glenn break his arm, I was the voice of the Rough Riders at the time. Halftime, we were getting ready for we were warming up. I'm like, yeah, it's not personal. I love Kevin. But we knew we would win the Grey Cup with Kevin Glenn didn't play, and Rod Black, that's exactly what happened. Where were you when Kevin Glenn broke his right
I was
arm
actually watching the game. I was not broadcasting the game. Okay. I was watching, RP. Good to see you. There is a lot of similarities, karma perhaps, to 2007 and now with Chad Kelly going down this week and Nick Arbuckle coming in. It's going to be very interesting. Although that time it was Ryan Dinwiddie who filled in for Kevin Glenn, and he was playing for the Blue Bombers. But I know it was a great one for Saskatchewan Rough Rider fans, not so good for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Yeah, this one has all the feels about that. And trust me, we're going to get to the Hockey Hall of Fame story here in Jeremy Roenick and your last few days with JR and the crew. But just your take on this has the feels of 07. What do you think about this Winnipeg-Toronto matchup and the fact that Bombers are favored by 10.5?
Yeah, I think you'd have to be a betting fool to I'm not showing my birth certificate. I'm a Winnipegger, obviously, but I live in Toronto, and I have a saying that I never bet against pinball because you know what he's done the last few years. But there's something about this Blue Bomber team, RP, as you know, that they have been that dynasty. They've been the New England Patriots over the last 5 years, excluding COVID. They probably could have 4 Grey Cups in a row if you think about it in many ways. I think this is an undeniable win for them. You never know in the Grey Cup. It's a one-off. They're going to throw their defensive linemen at Zach Collaros like crazy. The Argos are. It's going to have to be a defense wins. And Nick Arbuckle's going to have to patch things together. And Nick Arbuckle's a veteran. Again, if you go back to 07 and the fields that we had there, Ryan Dinwiddie didn't play a lot back then. Nick Arbuckle's had a lot of reps. Nick Arbuckle, though, I don't think he was the second-string quarterback before this season began. And then, of course, the Argos went through all their stuff with Chad Kelly, and it's a horrific injury, obviously. Never want to see that happen. But that 10.5 actually sounds light to me. I have a feeling that the Bombers are going to roll in this one. I really do.
Got you. Hey, you're the Al Michaels of Canada. How about that? Because I read his book, and he goes, I live in L.A., but I'm a New Yorker. I'm a New Yorker, even though I live in L.A. You're a Winnipegger living in Toronto. And our Winnipeg viewers want your take on the Winnipeg Jets.
Now
history-making Winnipeg Jets.
There is a team that is rolling. The only thing I'm going to say is that you don't want to be the best team in December. It's good to be the best team right now. You don't want to be the best team late November, early December. You want to be the best team in April. So you can't get hurt. They're playing great. I've known Scott Arniel since Scott Arniel broke into the NHL with Dale Howard-Chuck way back when they were World Junior teammates and junior teammates, and great winger at the time, has become a great assistant coach through the years, takes over there. I think he's got them playing believable hockey. Everybody believes in what they're doing. They're tight. They're sound defensively. They've got the best goalie in the world right now. That is also undeniable. I don't think anybody saw 14-1 coming, but it's hard to bet against them. Now, having said that, they're in New York tonight, right? And they got a tough little part of their schedule here. And so they've got some litmus tests coming. Not that any other game is a gimme, but, let's talk again closer to Christmas time when those dog days kind of set in. Will they only have one loss by then? I hardly think so. But I think right now, somebody last week, RP, there was some sort of power ranking in the NHL, and they actually had the Jets second. How can you have the Jets second? Like, are you watching? Are you watching? Because this team, they're doing it every part of the game, every end of the ice, and they're getting world-class goaltending. And everybody's seeing that right now. So, okay, so you know what? That part of my birth certificate is talking right now. Go Jets. Go Jets, go. By the way,
I like it.
They couldn't be farther removed from the New York Jets. Just saying it.
Just end the season. what Jets stands for in New York, but not Winnipeg. You're on your game.
Yes.
You're on your game today, RB. Okay. Tell me
Whatever
about the
game
last
that
couple
is.
days.
Oh, gosh. I think I'm a little blurry-eyed today because it's been a bit of a whirlwind. It's been fun. I host the Hockey Hall of Fame game every year. The Legends Classic, they call it. This year was Jana Hefford against Eric Lindros, and the Hall of Famers play. And frankly, a lot of the Hall of Famers don't quite have the same mojo, RP, they once had. There's some good guys just came out of the game, by the way, were playing in the game. Wayne Simmons, Jeff Carter, and you can see they still got it. Pavel Datsyuk, who went into the Hall of Fame, used to be the Magic Man. He doesn't play much anymore. Jeremy Roenick, my good pal, who I've got to know really well over the last few years, doing some speaking stuff and some broadcasting, who I have a tremendous amount of admiration for. I think he's the Charles Barkley of hockey, and he's one of the most generous people I've ever met. I've said for such a long time, I think on this show, how it's, they've got to right that wrong, that Jeremy Roenick has to be in the Hall of Fame, but it was a special weekend. So JR gets on the ice on Sunday, and of course, I got him dancing out there for the entire crowd. And the best thing is the people in the Scotiabank Arena were people, a lot of them were a lot of kids who probably can't afford to go to games. And this week can't afford to go to see Taylor Swift because she's all over the city. But they can't go to see games. And so it was really good for the kids. I don't think any of the kids knew who any of these players were, but it didn't matter. But JR, what a great speech. If you saw it last night, it had a little bit of everything, something a little blue. But he's a special guy. And it was really a nice night to see Pavel Datsyuk and Shea Weber and Natalie Darwitz and Chrissy Wendell and Colin Campbell and David Poyle all go in. And it's quite a party. And now I got to repair my liver a little bit.
Scott in Vancouver writes in and says, can we ask Rod Raptors questions? Are you down?
Sure. Okay. I'm down. Okay, They're Scott, down. They're down. They're way down.
The answer is yes. So Scott, whatever you want to know. I mean, can I call them the Craptors on the air? Because I really laugh when I hear that, but would it offend too many people if I refer to them as the Craptors?
It's hard to believe it's been 5 years since, they rose to the top of the world and just captivated this country. And it was such a celebration. That parade just ended, by the way. It was the longest parade ever. But they're not anywhere near that team. They're clearly in a rebuild, retool, reload. Everybody said it's not a rebuild. No, it's a rebuild, retool, remode, relaunch, regurgitate. It's tough. It's tough watching them. Now, they're fun to watch at times, but you can see the disparity. I think there's a lot of pressure right now on everybody in the organization because you can't just have 2 wins in 11 games. And they're competitive at times. But we started to see signs of this, RP, when I've been chatting with you the last couple of years. We saw signs of this after COVID when the Raptors had another good chance in the bubble. And we've seen the deterioration of the franchise since that time in their talent. I do like Grady Dick a lot. I think I kind of like his name too. I mean, again, just say it. Yeah. You kind of chuckle. I like his name, but then again, I haven't got exactly the best name either. But I love the way Brother Jake Edwards used to say I was a condom flavor, but I'm not going to say anything about that.
How about that?
Hey, I tell you.
Damn.
I will say, though, that, Scotty Barnes, is he the guy who's going to be kind of that next Vince Carter, which they called him? And there's not going to be another Vince Carter for a while here. I like some of their other pieces. They play hard. They play hard for Darko. But it's going to be a Darko season, it looks like, unless they make some moves. And there might be some serious moves into the new year. I think they are what they are. We saw this before the season. They were going to be a team that had a lot of mid-range to lower talent. RJ Barrett playing his butt off right now, playing really good basketball. RJ coming off the Olympic stint. I mean, he's obviously the guy, kind of one of the go-to guys for this team. But you just watch them and you can see they're just not there yet. Now, don't give up hope, Raptor fans, and don't give up hope, Scott, if you're a big Raptor fan. Is that sometimes you have to sink a little bit to get back to where you were. And the problem with the Raptors is they haven't sunk enough over the years to get that bona fide number one. They did get a number one before, remember, and Andrea Bargnani, and Rafael Arujo, some of those higher lottery picks. But this isn't the Vince Carter era, and I guess it's a great thing for the Raptors that they've had stuff to celebrate this year, and putting Vince's number up, which was 10 years ago, I would have said no, but I think time heals, and I think it was a good time to put it up, and I think he did change the franchise, the course of it, and it was a beautiful ceremony. So they might need to retire a few more jerseys this year. That's what I'm thinking.
It's amazing. Scott in Vancouver asked if he could ask Raptors questions. Now he hasn't written in with any. So I'll ask you one. What is Kawhi Leonard's place in Toronto sports history / lore?
He was a hired gun, but he was one of the greatest players this franchise has ever seen in that uniform. He's one of the best players, by the way, RP, ever. I mean, he's top 50 for sure. Unfortunately, saddled with a lot of injuries. I do believe had he stayed with the Raptors, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about stuff like this. But unfortunately, money, he wanted to go home, yada, yada. They knew what they were getting. They had to trade DeMar DeRozan. It was the most significant trade. He was the most significant player. The shot against Philly let them advance to get to a chance to play against the best for the NBA championship. It was an incredible time. People ask me all the time, you might even, I'm sure they ask it, should you retire Kawhi Leonard's jersey? I don't think so. And the only reason is because I don't think he had enough time here. Now, we are not sitting here having a conversation if it wasn't for Kawhi Leonard. And I'll take it a step back. We're not sitting here having that conversation if it's not for DeMar DeRozan, because they needed DeRozan to acquire Leonard, and they needed DeMar DeRozan to bring that winning culture with Kyle Lowry. I do think DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry's jerseys should go up together. They were Batman and Robin. But because they had DeRozan, they were able to get Kawhi. I do think they should honor him with a statue park that they should have outside like they have with the Leafs. Have the Vince Carter. I would say it's probably the one through the legs, that one. Kawhi will be the shot, crouching down. I think you can put all your great ones. Damon Stoudemire should be honored, Mighty Mouse. Kyle, it's not going to be Kyle taking a charge, but, Kyle Lowry, all of those guys. Hopefully there'll be better statues than Dwayne Wade's, but I do think that's the best way. And so his lore in Toronto sports history, even though it was one season, goes right up there, I think, with like a Dave Winfield. Remember when the Blue Jays got Dave Winfield? It was only for one season, but he helped win them a World Series back in 1992. So it's kind of like that. They never retired Winfield's jersey in Toronto. Jack Morris came over, Paul Molitor. They were all big parts, and they were heroes, sports heroes. They did their thing, and they helped them win championships. But I don't think Kawhi Leonard, people ask again, should his jersey go up? No, or could be wrong. They might, again, it might go back to the point I said before. You might need to have ceremonies to get people in the building. But I think Kawhi Leonard, his legacy is cemented. He's a winner. He was a champion, and he was one of the great sports heroes in Toronto history, for sure.
Yeah, I wasn't, suggesting they retire his jersey. I just wondered where he fits because he was there for so little, but won when he was. Zach in Calgary writes in and says, man, I miss Rod Black on TSN, but I think he's doing a great job with the CEBL broadcast. Carlos in Indianapolis says, good segment, Rod and Rod. That's Carlos in Indianapolis. Good segment, Rod and Rod.
I think we should have our own TV station. Rod Television.
Can you have...
Rod Television. Then again, if you Google Rod Television, you probably don't want to have your kids around.
How about that?
Exactly.
How about that?
Scott in Vancouver. I like some of young kids on the Raptors might be a good core. Yeah. I just say, man, we're out of time. But it's just you going on the road. I go to Heat games here. I know nothing about basketball. I just like the show. Imagine being a fan, knowing nothing about the sport. And I look up at the Raptors, like Bosch, Wade, LeBron. They weren't here for a real long time, but they won, right?
Yeah. Well, Chris Bosch, I'll tell you one thing. He's, again, he was a big part of the Toronto scene too, the Toronto fabric. I mean, I remember one thing I loved about Chris Bosch. Again, Heat don't win. I don't think if they don't acquire Bosch, they needed those extra pieces. But one thing I loved about Bosch, man, he played hard. I remember the tears coming down his eyes And it wasn't because he was losing, because he wanted to win so badly. I've never met a more fierce competitor than that guy. But and I like what Scott said. I do love the young kids, and I don't want anybody to give up hope, because there's still always, you could always float hope, and you always cheer hope on. But it's hard to watch, especially when you've won a championship, within the last 5 years. But I do think, RP, that sometimes first to worst and worst back up happens, and we see that in the Canadian Football League. We saw that in baseball. What can happen in baseball? So I think, it's going to take a major piece, though. They're going to have to find some sort of major piece. The NBA, you said it. You look up in the Raptors, it's all built on stars. You have to have the best stars. The best stars win. That's how it works.
Pay him. Pay him. All right. Pay us at Rod TV. Rod, thanks for the time. Let's do it again soon.
Love you guys. Good seeing you, RP. Are you going to be watching the Grey Cup this Sunday?
I'm going to be there, my guy. I'm going tomorrow.
Oh, nice. Who you got?
I don't bet against pinball. I said it earlier in the show. I felt like you stole that from me.
Good point.
I know you didn't.
Yes,
but
right.
I don't bet against it.
Yes, right. Yes, right. I love you. Yes, right.
Get it, rub the hands together.
I love the man. I love pinball, but this is going to be I think this is going to be a bombing. I hate to say it.
I gotcha.
Because the Grey Cups are always close. Over and out, 10-4.
We got to go.